Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my afternoon tea time on a card. So I'm a few minutes late getting on. I was updating my iPad and I had to wait for it to get done. So that's why I'm a few minutes late. So welcome, I can see you all coming on. So today I'm going to be creating 3 masculine cards for you. I had a poll asking you what you'd like to see, and that's what quite a few of you guys suggested. So I wanted to show you, I'm going to be using my brand new stamping trimmer that just came out for demonstrators. So you'll see that it looks similar to our last one. It's a little bit more lightweight because it does not have the storage underneath, which I didn't use that much anyway. And the arm, what I love is the way that the arm swings out. You can see that it's rounded right here. And then if you get to look at the close-up, you'll see that the measurements are engraved right where those 2 pieces meet. So it's a continuous line of measurements. Another thing that I love about it is when you put your cardstock inside and put the guide down, it actually locks in place so it doesn't move on you. The blades are a little bit larger than what we're used to, which is another plus. And I really love the way it cuts. So I'm going to show you the first card that I'm going to make today uses the trimmer quite a bit. So the suggestion was that you guys wanted to see some masculine birthday cards. So all 3 are quite simple and all of them have a little bit of a wow feature to them, but they're easy to replicate. So the first one I'm doing today is this one that uses Seaside Spray in color designer paper. Let me show you what I'm using. I'm using thick Whisper White cardstock, 11 by 4 1/4 scored at 5 1/2. So let me go ahead and fold that on the score line. I've been working on some projects all day, so you can see I have some blueberry bushel ink all over me, and I have some white paint and some glue, so just disregard that. For stamp sets, I'm using Bloom and Grow for the sentiment, so the large sentiment. I'm using the Sprig Punch with Blueberry Bushel. I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of those for my card. So there's that. Blueberry Bushel ink. I've got the copper ribbon. And then a piece of the in color Seaside Spray designer paper. I'm using the metallics elements. These are just little pieces that I had left over from a product share that I did. It's a bigger sheet than this. I've got Whisper White that I've gone ahead and cut with the stitched nested labels dies. This one, if you measure across, measures 3 3/8 inches. So let me go ahead and show you how I did this card. It's so simple and a great way to use up your designer paper scraps. So I'm going to bring in the trimmer and I'm going to cut 6 1-inch pieces. So I am measuring off to the right hand side because there's a 1-inch measurement. Another thing that I love about the new one is it goes all the way to 1 1/2 instead of just the 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this 6 times. You can see how easy the blade cuts. I'm not even applying any pressure. That's how smooth these new blades cut. Okay, one more. The only thing we got to get used to is that the arm, the guide does lock in place. So you kind of have to lift from here just to get it to unlock. Okay, so now I've got 6 pieces. I'm going to bring in my card base and I'm going to add a lot of snail only because I'm gluing some strips. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of snail there. Now I started almost way in the corner. I'm going to do the opposite design this time. So all I'm doing is gluing these in place. And I'm going really close to the edge on one piece because you can actually cut these off and reuse them on the other end. So now I'm just going to trim. So you could use any color designer paper for this that would be suitable for a masculine card. Okay, now I'm going to work my way down. So you can see how quickly this goes. Now, I don't think this one's long enough. We'll use this one towards the end. Whoops, the other way around. I almost messed up on that one. Now I'm just going to finish trimming this off. And again, there's some smaller pieces at the end there that you could use on another card. Okay, look how quick and look how cute that turned out. Now I'm going to bring in the copper ribbon. Even though it's a masculine card, we can still add ribbon. Copper is a masculine color. So I'm going to tie the bow over to the left-hand side. Now let's make the loops a little bit smaller. I'll bring in my ribbon scissors. And what I did to make this even more masculine, I took the loops. This is like a little netting when you pull on the loops. And I'll bring it close to show you. So it kind of reminds me of some fishnet. Hopefully you can see that. So to me, by doing this, it makes it look more rustic and more manly. And you can even do that with the end pieces too, that you just stretch them out. They just open right up. See how neat that is? Okay, so there's my masculine bow. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that right there. And then I'm going to bring in some dimensionals. So this is a really quick card. I have two today that are really quick. And the third one is going to be my favorite, and it's going to have a little bit of a wow at the end. Okay, now I want to bring this down a little. Get a little bump there. Okay, there we go. I'm going to add this almost in the center. And then all I'm going to do is take my little sprigs and tuck those under the sentiment. So again, a great way to use up your scraps of designer paper. And lastly, I'm going to add some of these metal elements. I just added 2. I felt that it was enough. So there's card number 1. So how cute, or I should say how handsome is this, because it's a masculine card. Now let me get set up for card number 2. I need a lot of supplies for card number 2. So I need the 2-inch circle punch, the 2 1/4 inch circle punch, the everyday label punch, and I'm using Stitched All Around. I'm using this large sentiment, Enjoy Your Special Day. For ink colors, I'm using Seaside Spray and Soft Suede, some really nice masculine colors. I need a sponge dauber for each color. And this is the card I'm making. I made my own designer paper background. So let's start out with Soft Suede. Again, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5. Let me bring the card back in. So now I am using Very Vanilla 5 1/4 by 4. I'm actually going to use the sponge daubers to create a colorful background. So let's start out with the Seaside Spray, and I'm just going to kind of do a circular motion, and when you put it on, you just turn. Very simple to make your own polka dot background. Now I know I'm going to be putting a strip across here, so I'm not going to do any of that right in the bottom center there. So there's the Seaside Spray. Next is soft suede. So I'm going to just fill in little areas. You can see how easy and how perfect are these circles. Look how cute. Okay, now while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment. And that's soft suede ink on soft suede cardstock. And I'm using the 2-inch, wait a minute, I gotta measure. I think this is the 2-inch. No, it's the 2 1/4. I'm glad I measured. I almost cut it with the wrong one. Okay, so there's my sentiment. Now I'm gonna show you how to make these circles. Let me bring in my scraps. I need crumb cake, a crumb cake scrap. I'm going to use the 2-inch circle punch first and make a hole. Put that aside. Bring in the 2 1/4-inch circle punch and then sit that right inside so you can see that I have a ring there. So there's my ring. I'm going to do the same thing with the Seaside Spray. So always use the smaller punch first to cut out your hole, and then use the larger punch to go around it to create the ring. So there's my second ring. And then I have a piece of the designer paper from the Come Sail Away suite, and I'm using this one right here. Very masculine, a lot of simple patterns that you can use that don't have too much busy going on. Now I'm going to show you how I did this, this fancy edging right here. I used the Everyday Label punch. I'm going to cut out 2 of those. I actually need to grab my scrap. Okay, so I've got 2 of those. And all I did was cut them in half. I only need 3 pieces. And I want to make sure this is right side up. I'm going to add snail. And what I did is I added my strip right here on the corner of my grid sheet. The center is at 2 inches. So I want to make sure that's in the middle. Okay, so that's right in the middle. And then next I just need to add the 2 other pieces. So it just makes for an interesting border type. Okay, so that's how I did that. Now I'm going to glue that in place. And let's see, that's going to go right about here. Next, I'm going to glue the 2 circles in place. I'm just adding some liquid glue. So you can see on this card, there's not much for supplies. I used cardstock, just a little strip of designer paper, and the rest is just scraps of cardstock. Now I'm going to press that in place right here. Add this one a little higher. And now I need to, there's my sentiment. My stamping dimensionals. And I know a lot of you guys told me you have a hard time with masculine cards. For me, they always come easy. I love masculine cards. They're actually one of my favorites to create. Okay, there's the sentiment. And then I'm bringing in some little pieces, again, left over from my product share. These are actually from, let me get my catalog. the Dinosaur enamel shapes. And I'm using these little red ones here. You can see that I have a lot of little leftover leaves and branches and sprigs. So what I did is I added some to the Seaside Spray circles. I just thought by adding the red, it just gave it a nice pop of color. And then I'm just adding them in different areas so they're not all the same. Just a good way to use up my stash. So isn't that neat how the red really pops up against the Seaside Spray and the soft suede? Let's see, we'll add one this way and one more. Let me put that one on top. And then all I got left to do is to glue this to the card front. And there's masculine card number 2. So there's 2 cards already. One more to go. So let me go ahead and try to bring in my 3rd card, which is my wow card. I'm going to be doing a little bit of coloring. I've got some nice, neat colors I'm using. I am going to use the Big Shot just once. Oh, you guys like that. I love the hearts. Thanks. Okay, so now, card number 3, I'm using Gather Together. I'm actually using the big leaf image. And I'm also using Itty Bitty Birthdays. It's Your Day is the one that I'm using. I've got Granny Apple Green, Terracotta Tile, and Rich Razzleberry. And as you can tell, these are fallish colors. I'm also using the small rectangle from the Rectangle Stitch dies. Now this one measures 3 1/4 by 2 inches. Are you ready to see my wow card? Let me bring it in. I'm actually doing one color throughout this card. So here's card number 3. I'm going to show you how I inked up these dies. I love the way this looks. So this is card number 3. So I am using 3 crumb cake layers. Again, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. I always like to show you guys either a technique or a tip in my card. This one, again, crumb cake is 5 inches by 3 3/4. A scrap for the leaves. And then this rectangle that I gave you measurements on right before I started. So let me get all of my inks ready. Now what I am doing here is first is the background on layer number 2. I need my chamois for this one because I do have to change ink colors. Let me see if I can put the card over to the side so you guys can still see it. Now, I do also need one more stamp image, and where is it? I need the little splotchy image. I think I might have put it away. Nope. It's out here somewhere. Oh, I see it. It's way down there. I had to spread things out quite a bit. Okay, so let's start out with the leaves. I'm going to do a green one, and I've got my aqua painter ready to go because I want to quickly color. So there's my image, and I'm actually going to take the aqua painter and just quickly spread the ink lines. Okay, look how quick that was. There's number 1. I did get some on my finger, but that's going to be covered. Next is Rich Razzleberry. And they are going to overlap a little bit on each other, but they're going to be covered anyway. Okay, number 2 leaf. See how easy you can color on crumb cake? And then my 3rd leaf is Calypso Coral. And again, use the aqua painter to quickly. You have to do this quickly right after you stamp because the ink is still wet. Okay, now let me put, no, I still need those for my other leaves. I'm going to use this little splotchy image just to add some dots. Got to have some dots on the leaves. It just makes it look so cool. Okay, that's all I'm going to do on that panel. Now I'm going to bring in the little rectangle. I'm going to stamp "It's Your Day." And again, I'm going to add some dots. I'm going to confess, the reason I added dots to this one, I had a little boo-boo right here and I covered it. You guys can't even tell. I was going to leave that one with no dots, but I do have to confess. Okay, so now we have all 3 of these layers ready, but now we need to do the leaves. So let me go ahead. I'm going to try to squeeze in the big shot so I can do it all and explain step by step. Let me move my ink pads. And I do need all 3 of these leaves. Now what I'm going to try to do is leave the big shot in place so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to start out with Rich Razzleberry. I have a tweezer. I'm going to actually lay the die right in there and I'm just going to press down to ink it. And you'll see that there's ink over the leaf. I'm going to add it right there. Move on to Calypso Coral. Do the same thing. So I'm inking up all of the leaves. And I'm hoping they're all going to fit on this little piece. Granny Apple. Whoops. You know what? I have another little piece right here. I'm not going to take a chance. Again, lift this up. Now, where's my clear plate? I'm going to run my clear plate through. And you'll see how cool this is. Look how cool. So I made 3 different leaves with 3 different ink colors. So what happens when you ink up the leaf, it actually presses into the cardstock and adds color. Now, let me bring my card pieces back in. So isn't that neat? Isn't that a wow? Now, all we have left to do is to glue everything in place. I'm going to add a lot of dimensionals on this only because I did wet it. And I want it to stay nice and flat. So do you guys like these leaves? Isn't that just the coolest thing? You can actually do that with any die. Love the hearts. You guys love it, I can tell. So I'm actually using a lot of dimensionals on here. I'm using it on all of my layers. Okay, so this is gonna go right here. One more layer of dimensionals. Oh, thanks so much for all the love, you guys. I knew you would love this card. And you can do this with any die that has detail like that. Now, this is going to go right in the center. Now, if you'll notice, when you look at the leaves after they start drying, it gives it more of a watercolor look. It kind of blends the lines, which I really love. Okay, let's do dimensionals one more time. So we'll add, let's see, I'm going to switch these off. I want this to be opposite. So I'm going to put this one on this side. And then we'll do the Granny Apple. I'm looking for my little bow because oh, here it is. I made one ahead of time so you wouldn't have to watch. And all I'm going to do with that is roll up one of my glue dots. Add that to the top of my leaf and then press the bow in place. So what do you guys think? Do you like this wow card? Now let me go ahead and bring all the other ones back in. This is the one that I made with the rings and the sponge dauber. And then this was the one that I made with the designer paper. So there's some really good ideas for 3 masculine cards. I would love to see what you guys create if you want to copy one of these. So please add photos to our page so I can see the cards. Thanks so much for joining me today, everyone. It was so nice to see you all, and I hope you have a good remainder of the day. See you soon. Bye-bye.